Obviously, in 1938, on November the 9th, our synagogue was also torn down and burned. And during the process of the tearing down and desecrating our synagogue, we had 3 Torah in our ark in Gemünden, which must have been there for, 100 years or more. The Torahs were taken out of the synagogue and desecrated, thrown out under the street and torn apart and walked on.
German citizens destroyed, burnt, and damaged Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues. Kristallnacht was one of the Nazis' many strategies to dehumanize and isolate the Jewish population. 2 days before Kristallnacht occurred, at 5:30 p.m. on the 7th of November 1938, German diplomat Ernst von Rath was shot dead at the German embassy by a 17-year-old Polish Jew named Herschel Gernsback in Paris, France. He was led to do this because his parents were deported away from home, and he acted out to signify his disapproval of the Nazi regime and how they were deporting Jewish citizens and other undesirables to both concentration and death camps. Although this was framed by the Nazis as an outburst of the people, it was an organized pogrom, and it signified the transition from anti-Jewish laws, also known as the Nuremberg Laws, to terror and violence by the state of Germany. As a result, many Jewish people felt rising anger and conflict on the horizon, so they attempted to immigrate, but most were unsuccessful because the immigration process was extremely difficult and strenuous. The Nazi leaders, such as Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels and the leader of the Nazi Party, Adolf Hitler, used the assassination as fuel to cause riots by the citizens of the Nazi Party. They got the majority of their support through the Brown Shirts, the paramilitary group, the SS, and the Hitler Youth. Joseph Goebbels delivered an inflammatory anti-Semitic speech which fueled anger in the German people. As tensions were severely rising and hate was widespread, on September 9, 1938, violence finally broke out. The Nazi regime encouraged and took part in riots and mobs throughout Germany.
Framed as an act of revenge and not one of dehumanization, violence continued into September 10th, when people's stores and businesses were destroyed throughout Germany. Nearly 20,000 to 30,000 young Jewish men were rounded up, deported, and arrested after and during Kristallnacht. Jewish synagogues were destroyed and vandalized. Fires were not allowed to be put out. School children were taken out of school to see the spectacle, and in some cases, rabbis were forced to tear the Torahs and burn them. Although mobs made the majority of the crowds, Nazis also publicly humiliated and taunted Jewish people by forcing them to perform calisthenics exercises regardless of their age or health, crawl and bark like dogs, dance in celebration of the destruction, sing Nazi songs, and also read aloud from Adolf Hitler's book, Mein Kampf. Crowds of Germans participated in the humiliation. They spat on, taunted, and threw mud at their Jewish neighbors. The victims were often still clothed in their pajamas. Perpetrators threw rocks and bricks into Jewish people's windows. This often took place in the middle of the night, with Jewish people being dragged from their beds. The rioters threw people's furniture out of windows and smashed their dishes, glassware, and windows. They cut open blankets and pillows with knives, covering homes and streets in feathers. In some cities, Nazi mobs even attacked Jewish orphanages, old age homes, and hospitals. Kathy Wells, a survivor who experienced Kristallnacht, said,
"Then we heard the voice, 'Kill that dirty Jew.' And my mother got in front of my father and said, 'You have to kill me first.' And one of them grabbed her here and threw her against the wall. And my father His face was so white, I didn't think that he had any blood left.
These acts of violence and outbursts against Jewish people were one of the big stepping stones towards the Holocaust and dehumanization of Jewish people throughout Europe. Jewish-owned stores and businesses were brutally destroyed by mobs while also being vandalized. It was rare to see neighbors helping their Jewish friends, but there are rare upstanders, mostly because of the intimidating violence of the Nazi regime. Kathy Wells said,
And these Hoffmans, these people, from then on, they came every night over the wall and brought us. And they were crying and carrying on. What could they do? To this day, they are the only Germans that I correspond with to this day.
The powerful impact and humanity of these people has changed others' lives. They were the ones who answered the call to stand up. As many Jewish businesses were recovering, they realized that there was no place for themselves in Germany and attempted to leave quickly, although mostly unsuccessfully due to necessary documentation and permission from the Nazi regime. The night of broken glass signified the start of a genocide and the process of dehumanizing the Jewish population by stripping them of their basic human rights.